Hello, it's Burgess Taylor, and I just kind of wanted to talk to you about ADHD and depression and anxiety, ADD, that kind of thing during NaNoWriMo. One of the things about participating in something that is as intense and stressful and high impact, I guess, mentally as NaNoWriMo is, it can take a toll on you, especially if you suffer from anxiety or depression or any of those things. So let's take a look at what I do to kind of help. I'm going to insert some pictures. Today we're going to talk about ADHD, ADD, depression, anxiety, that kind of thing, and doing something as prolific as NaNoWriMo. Maybe not prolific, but as intense. And, well, to me it's prolific, but anyway. NaNoWriMo is an intense, stressful time. It's chaotic. It makes it more intense. So these are some of the tips that I've found through blogs, through ADHD sites, through other writers who have written about ADHD, anxiety, depression, that kind of thing, and what works for me. Now, I have been a list maker for as long as I can remember. When I was working in finance, as a bank teller, as a manager, as customer service, I had a yellow notepad and I would start out with my to-do list, all the things that I needed to do. When I was in the middle of doing it, I would have a star or a check mark by it. When I was done with it, I would draw a line through it. That way, when I was stopped and in the middle of doing something, I could go back to my list and I'd see what I had been working on when I was interrupted. Because although I can multitask and I do really well multitasking, I have to kind of keep track of things. So I make a list because if I get distracted, I need to be able to go back to what I was doing. If you've watched any of my videos, then you know sometimes I kind of ramble. I go back and forth between topics, and sometimes it seems random, but it's really not. Something sparks a thought, and I go on from there. So the next thing would be that you need to kind of understand that you need to have a little bit of self-discipline. But I work on things, I try to work on things and get things done, have some follow through. You can't, well, I can skip around, but it makes it a lot harder. I think sometimes if I mix things up a little too much, I get just more distracted. And then I don't finish all those things that I start. Sometimes I don't finish very much of anything that I started. So I'm a writer. I'm at home. I keep track of the house. I do most of the do-it-yourself projects. I do the cooking, the cleaning, the laundry, all that good stuff. And this means that I'm busy. When I'm writing, I'll take a break. I get up. I'll go wash dishes. I'll go fold clothes. I will go vacuum. And that mixes things up. One, it gets me up and moving. And while I'm doing those things, while I'm washing dishes, or while I'm folding clothes, or vacuuming, or sweeping or mopping, or whatever, My mind is usually on my novel. It's on that next stage of whatever it is I'm working on, or it's thinking about the characters and something that either the character thinks or feels, or maybe what she was wearing, or maybe what he wanted to say and didn't. The next thing you probably want to think about, like I said, is if you're sitting for a long periods of time, you either don't get enough exercise and your circulation needs to kind of get a jump start. But it's not easy when you're sitting at a computer, whether you're on a laptop or on a desktop or whatever, sitting there for long periods of time. Your legs go numb, you get anxious, and you kind of need to move around. But another thing is that it's very sedentary, sitting at a computer for so long, and you really need to get up and move around. But you do have to sit for long periods of time and focus. And you need to be able to kind of do that. So you have to find things that will help you do that. Another thing that's really important is that you find buddies, writer friends, writer buddies that are doing the same things you're doing, sitting at desk for long periods of time. Some of us also find other friends who have like ADD or ADHD or depression or anxiety. And that way you don't feel quite so alone, and you can talk about things, vent a little if you need to. If you have friends, however, who are hindering or sabotaging or making things worse in your life, then I say, sometimes positive begots positive, just like negative does. If you're around a bunch of negativity, you're going to feel more negative. So if you are trying to get things done and you're trying to write, and there are people who are always calling you and they don't take what you're doing seriously, they're not very supportive, might be time to revamp maybe your friends list a little, to spend less time around those people or less time socializing or talking to these people. Because if this is your dream and this is something that's very important to you, then the people who are around you that care about you, the people that are in your life, they should be at least somewhat understanding of it. The next thing I think that's important is, like I said before, you need to get exercise. The more that you sit and stay still and are sedentary, the more problems you're going to have with things like anxiety, depression, ADD, ADHD. We're not designed to sit for long periods of time like that. We're mobile beings. We need to get up and move around, whether it's going to take a walk or going to walk around the house or get up and go to the fridge and get yourself another bottle of water, something like that. It's very important that we get up and move around. I've been beginner's yoga, trying anyway. I'm still not quite as flexible as I was because of my shoulders, but it's getting better, and it's strengthening my shoulders as well. I also walk pretty much every morning, at least a mile. This week I've tried to do 2, but I'm still kind of doing 1. I guess maybe Monday I'll start with the 2. And it helps. 1, it helps calm me. 2, it helps put things in perspective. When I'm taking a walk, I can think about what all I've already done, go through a mental checklist of what I still need to do, and put those together and kind of organize them in my mind, so that by the time I'm done with my walk and then I'm done with my shower and I'm sitting at my desk with my coffee, I am ready to start. I've already made a mental checklist. The next thing is that this isn't going to be perfect. We're sometimes not going to be able to finish. Sometimes we're going to get sidetracked. Sometimes we are going to have some trouble, be a little too anxious or be a little bit depressed. You have to find what works for you, but don't try to be perfect. I mean, there isn't any perfection here. And our novels, definitely this first go round, first drafts are usually in no way, shape, or form perfect. And the other thing, I drink a lot of coffee. I do. I have to admit, I drink a lot of coffee. I am drinking coffee right now. But I also try to alternate, and I try to add water in there. I have some water right here. When I'm done with my coffee, I will try to drink that whole bottle of water, and then throughout the day when I drink either some sweet tea or I drink some hot tea or I drink a Dr. Pepper. I'll try to add in another water. I try to add in at least 3 bottles, sometimes 4 a day. I don't drink nearly as much water as I should, but I do try. The more that we feed our brains with the good things, like water, because we need water, our body is made of water, and you need to keep it hydrated. You'll feel better if you're hydrated. If you drink nothing but coffee, you're not going to be hydrated. Or soda. If you drink nothing but soda, you're definitely not going to be hydrated either. Soda contains a lot of sodium. So hydrate, try to eat healthy snacks. I'm not saying that you shouldn't reward yourself with a bit of chocolate. It makes you feel good, and I try to do dark chocolate. I have a bar of Hershey's dark chocolate right here, and what I do is every time I make my goal for that particular section, I don't necessarily go by word count. I write like by sections, and when I do really well, like I'm not even a scene, but maybe like a whole chapter. If I get finished with the project that I was working on, that chapter, I'll reward myself with one of these little tabs of chocolate. I'm eating one piece. Now, dark chocolate has antioxidants in it, and I like dark chocolate. I like that it's sweet, but it's not, has a tiny bit of the bitter, so it's not too overwhelmingly sweet. I don't like the super rich, super sweet things. And then sometimes if I don't want dark chocolate, I'll get like red licorice or some gummy bears or something. I also have frozen grapes, and when you eat frozen grapes, when you bite down, it's like eating candy. They're sweet and they're crunchy and they're cold, and it's like, it's delicious. So just a little bit of a tidbit, and I would say that one of the biggest distractions for most people, especially people who suffer from things like ADHD, is social media. When you've got Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and Tumblr and Periscope, all these fun, Snapchat, all these fun things that are out there, and your phone's constantly vibrating or beeping or talking to you, and it's telling you you have updates and notifications for all these things, that is a huge distraction. I'm distracted enough by watching YouTube videos about NaNoWriMo, by going to the forums and checking out things on the forums on NaNoWriMo. I get distracted enough by noises from outside. I live not far from Air Force Base, and every time I turn around, planes are flying by. If I'm in the zone, I don't hear the planes. But if I'm having trouble focusing, I'm going to hear every single noise. That plane is going to drive me absolutely crazy. If you're really into social media, but you're distracted and not getting your work done, turn your social media off. Give yourself an hour or 2 hours with no social media. Turn your internet off. Silence your phone. Do whatever you need to do. I know those things are extremely distracting to me. It drives me absolutely crazy when I am sitting across from a dinner table with somebody and they're on their phone. I try really hard not to do it unless I get a really important text message or a really important phone call from a family member, my daughter, my parents, my in-laws, just in case something happens. But I think that's one of the rudest things in the world, is to sit in front of somebody at dinner time or when you try to have a one-on-one conversation and people are on their phones. They're not paying attention to you. They're paying attention to their phone. So if you really want to pay attention to your writing, pay attention to your writing. That's it. That's my suggestions. If you have any questions, there are some really great websites out there for writing with ADHD or writing with depression and anxiety. Thank you. Have a good one. I'll see you again soon. Bye.